Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Samri.
Welcome to the
Lines Between the Stars podcast.
We watched Cobra Kai.
We finished all 4 seasons, right?
Yeah, 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is our general media review.
Yeah. We both enjoyed it.
Yeah, which
yeah.
funny enough, it's been harder to find things we commonly like. Commonly like in terms of TV shows.
Yeah.
In terms of TV shows,
Yeah, like whenever he suggests something, I'm like,
not really feeling it.
ugh.
Whenever she suggests something, I'm not really feeling it.
Yeah, he would like tune off.
Yeah.
Mentally checked
Yep.
out. But yeah, like I was like going through all the, different shows available, and it was one of the popular ones on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And also I had already watched 4 episodes. Well, not
2
completely.
episodes. Yeah, you said 2 episodes.
I think I like watched briefly like little sections of different episodes up to
That
the
makes
4th
no
episode.
sense. That makes no
I would
sense.
like tune out or something. I
Yeah.
would like forward and
Uh-huh.
be like, oh, is this going to be interesting?
Yeah, but then when you do that, you kind of miss a lot of stuff, Like if there's build up,
Yeah.
If something's supposed to build up, then you miss all of that pretty much.
Yeah. But this time we watched it from
yeah,
the beginning.
Yeah, we just watched it from the beginning. Pretty much like I didn't know like beforehand that like this was actually like a Karate Kid sequel. I didn't know that before, so that's why I never like really like got into it.
Okay.
And it's when you have something that's like an older franchise, and you see like a new series, you can't. A lot of people have that, including me, have that little like cautionary like feeling of like, is this okay? Like they aren't going to ruin like my childhood or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
And the best analogy I could bring up with Cobra Kai, if you were like a fan of Karate Kid, it's as if your nostalgia, your childhood grew up, has a beer belly,
And
in
has
like in like the best in a
It's
good way
kids.
possible, and it's good in a good way possible. Like that's a cute beer belly.
it's a dad bod.
Yeah, and because like I really like the series. It delves deeper into like all the characters in Karate Kid, and what's really cool about it is that they kind of grab everyone
Yeah.
from like the original movie, from at least the trilogy movies, the Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3, and kind of bring them to like the modern time, and even like give them a chance to kind of like shine as well.
Yeah. And it's done by the original actors, like the main actors.
Yeah. Because I know the actor who plays Daniel LaRusso, he's infamous in being really like cautious about any like Karate Kid like reboots and stuff like that.
Oh. Okay.
Because like he's like, okay, like he like they said that like I think the showrunner said that they had to really like work really hard to get him on board.
Oh, okay. So was he not on board with Will Smith's son?
No, I don't think he was on board with that one. Will Smith's actually a producer on for Karate Kid, Cobra Kai.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Will Smith's name's on the producer credits.
What?
So he helped produce this show.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder. Maybe he wanted his son to play. What's his name? Oh my gosh. I forgot
There's
his
the
name.
the small black kid or
No, the Latino guy.
Miguel?
Ecuadorian. Yeah, Miguel.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Diaz.
think Jaden Smith is like not into acting.
And he's like older and
he's
like
older. He's like, Dad, I don't have to do this to just be part of your, to have father-son time.
Yeah.
So, but like I think Will Smith actually does like Karate Kid. He's like, or Jaden Smith's like, Dad already did this already, so I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Funny enough, like this is a thing that really, like I liked the Will Smith, the Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan Karate Kid.
Okay.
I am bemused that it really honestly should have been called Kung Fu Kid.
Because it's not karate.
It's not karate. It's 100% kung fu.
Because Jackie Chan practices kung fu.
It's like China versus Japan.
Oh.
You know, it's actually just geographical. Karate comes from Japan. Kung Fu comes from China, and Jaden was specifically in China. There was so much China in that series.
Oh, okay.
Because he's like, he moved to like China, and he's like, I'm in China now. I'm learning Kung Fu from this old man. If we went to a Shaolin monk, we had this aerial shot of like the Great Wall of like all these parts in China.
Oh.
So that's why it's kind of like it really should have been called Kung Fu Kid, but then the populace doesn't really know the difference. So that's why they're like, they're like, Karate Kid.
Nice. Interesting.
Yeah. I think it should have been called Kung Fu Kid because that would have made more sense.
Because you're more into martial arts.
Yeah.
You grew up with...
I grew up with this stuff, you know? Like, this was, like, how I, like, entertained myself. And I got really into, like, martial arts, too. I took martial arts growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, like, I'm like, ooh, specifics, you know?
Yeah. So you enjoyed this because it was... karate.
Yeah, it was, and you know, it's like all the character, you know, it's a progression of like what I saw growing up, and like it does a lot of things. Like they change the main character, the main like point of view character to be Johnny Lawrence, who is like the villain of the first Karate Kid.
Yeah, the blonde kid.
Yeah, the blonde kid who's a bit of a bully, and going from his perspective and seeing like how he is like developing and stuff like that, how he goes from like big time loser to being like karate sensei who is still a loser.
He's really funny.
The show really makes him to be a loser, and like you root for him because you're like, oh, he's trying his best not to be a loser, right? I think it's called the Barnum effect.
What's that?
It's the idea where someone who is like a really like bad, shitty person starts doing good things, and you put more weight on the good things. Like you're like, oh, you root for them more, right? You're like, oh, you're doing good things, you're getting your life back together, and you're like you think more positively about this person.
Oh, interesting.
The opposite effect is also true. Where if you have someone who's in a very good position, like they're like normally like a kind and sociable person, and then they explode or like they get really mad or something like that. We view that bad even more negatively than if they were like always negative.
Interesting. That actually makes me think about bullying. Yeah. And how the spectators expect the victim to always be good. Yeah. But when they react, then they're like, oh. Yeah. This is why they're being bullied.
Yeah, there's like if you look online, like people are like, oh yeah, like this is just me looking at Reddit, Reddit and stuff like that. Matt, okay, don't visit the Cobra Kai subreddit because it's super toxic.
Oh because, really?
Like, they don't any viewpoint that is like opposite of what the majority of that subreddit is like downvoted, you know? Like they're like, oh man, Johnny LaRusso's the best, he's the better sensei, he's like the better guy. Daniel LaRusso's a big bully, he's always been like mean, evil, and it's just like, okay, look, both have their both have their flaws, you know? If you say any inkling that Johnny LaRusso might be a bad dad, then everyone will be like, oh, really? Yeah, he's a terrible dad. He's a terrible dad. I mean, the whole point of the show is seeing like him trying to be a better dad, and then like, you know, he stumbles a lot.
Yeah, and I think you only find out he even has a son on like the 5th episode, and I'm like, what? Yeah. This whole time?
Yeah. Because that's how like out of the life he is. But then he wants to get back into his son. And his son, like rightfully so, is like, no, I don't believe you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like I think a lot of the characters react very like except for Daniel and Johnny when it comes to their rivalry. story.
Yeah.
I think at some point they need to talk. They're like need to talk, but then it was always like no.
They've had talks.
Talks, but then like it always like devolves into like fighting.
Yeah.
Where they can't get along.
Yeah, they there's like multiple points where they like come together and then violently.
Yeah, I mean, there's parts where like Daniel does like crazy things. Like he gets the landlord to like up the rent cost of Johnny's the whole mall area, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's psychotic.
Yeah, double the price and
it's like I mean, here's the thing. There's that. Everyone has that bit of catharsis they want to have against their childhood bully.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I want to get back at them so much, you know? Yeah. Because like those, like here's the thing, emotional wounds from being bullied as a kid, they don't go away.
Yeah.
I still think to this day of like, man, I wish I could punch out my bully, my childhood bullies.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, like it's definitely a thing. Like I don't fault. Like I understand where he's coming from. Was it a good thing to do? No, not at all.
Yeah. Like I think it's because the whole Cobra Kai name.
Yeah,
triggers him.
Yeah, he's like extreme. Like he has trauma that he obviously hasn't gotten over with, and probably needs a bit of therapy to go through. You know?
Yeah. And the show is really good about like showing how unresolved trauma shows up in the kids of
because what happens is that like all these kids start learning karate and then like these kids have the biggest beef against each other. They have the biggest beef,
Romeo and Juliet sort of stuff.
It's kind of funny. I do enjoy the fact that like these kids get these really cool fight sequences.
Like it's crazy. Like I don't know how they do it.
Well, they're young, they're in shape, and they're like they can handle the training a bit better and like handle like the fallout of like doing the crazier stunts a bit better because they'll heal faster. Versus like if Johnny and Daniel are fighting, it probably takes a lot out of them, and they're like, oh man, we feel it.
They can only be senseis.
They can only have an epic fight like every once in a while. Yeah, but
that's true. Because there's like one or like actually multiple fight scenes where the kids
have like this huge giant brawl. It's,
in a house.
Yeah. And let me I'll talk about like the kung fu because I'm actually a lot of times I get pretty picky about like action scenes. You know? You've noticed like you noticed this. I'm not looking for like super hyper realistic fighting scenes. I just want the fight scenes to look cool. To look good. And there is like a fantasy to like kung fu, to like martial arts movies, right? In real life, traditional martial arts such as kung fu, karate, a lot of these like are
Taekwondo.
kind of like have kind of been kind of like they're not as good. Like MMA has proven that like those traditional fighting styles aren't as good as like modern day martial arts.
You're saying they're not realistic?
They're less effective.
In real life?
In real life situations. Like, they're actually less effective compared to boxing, like wrestling, and...
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga actually is considered, like, one of the, like, the fake martial... Like, in the same line as, like, the traditional martial arts, where it's not as effective.
Really?
Because, I can actually dive into this. I just learned a bit about this. So, Krav Maga is not a martial arts. It is a mentality. So you can use any martial arts with Krav Maga to apply Krav Maga principles, which is like aggressive, like use whatever you have on you.
Oh, really?
Krav Maga for the military is different for Krav Maga taught to civilians. Because we're not, civilians aren't going to be like, take a pencil, shove it in, like stab someone's eyeball out. They'll get sent to prison.
I mean, you
can
defend yourself.
But Krav Maga is meant, like the military style is meant for people who are wearing like protective like military padding and have knives on them. Which civilians aren't going to be wearing that day to day, so it has to actually change to work for civilians, and that's actually more theoretical. That's still on the theoretical level, And pretty much your knowledge of Krav Maga is going to differ from instructor to instructor. Because because it's all dependent on what the instructor's background is. If the instructor's background is like in Aikido and stuff like that, then your Krav Maga is going to be more Aikido-like. Versus an instructor who's done boxing, that instructor's Krav Maga is going to be more boxing-like.
Interesting.
But there's like a lot of like, you know, on the whole spectrum, Krav Maga tends to be less effective than like a lot of the other like martial arts.
Wow. Okay. Because I was trying to look into
Krav Maga. It's about
self-defense,
and also the training's just not up to snuff, because you can be a licensed practitioner. You can be a licensed practitioner, with only like 5 weeks of training.
Oh.
You can open a school with 5 weeks of training, while some of these other places require you to have like 10 years of experience.
Oh. Wow.
You know, so like compare the two. It's like, you know, like a black belt in Krav Maga with like only like, you know, maybe a year or two of experience versus like someone who's like a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu who's been doing it for like 20 years, like 15, 20 years, that has like a big higher regulation on that too.
Oh.
Like Krav Maga instructor, like Krav Maga, like their tournaments like aren't really publicized. No one really records them either. While like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example, everything's recorded. Like your promotion exams, stuff like that, everything's like recorded.
Oh, interesting.
For you to like see. So there's proof that like, oh, someone is legit, an instructor is legit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
Okay,
it's
wow.
a lot of different stuff. So yeah. But so we're going back to Karate Kid. We're going back to Karate Kid. There's a fantasy to like martial arts movies. We were all like, oh yeah, like the mysticism involved. Like there's also just like the like it works. We wanted to see like karate like work really well because it looks cool.
Yeah.
You know,
they like in the last season they had like the
this crazy dumb
twirling in the
spin
air.
kick. I'm like, I laugh at that stuff, but I'm like, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, that's dumb, but it's fun. It's fun to me.
There's a lot of that in Chinese.
Yeah. Also, these kids.
mythology
Also, these kids are like doing just bare knuckle fist fighting with no padding and stuff in their tournaments. It's like, dude, yo.
Also, in tournaments, there's padding.
Yeah, 100% there's padding.
Oh.
They don't want that. They don't want like deaths on the line. Heck, even boxing has padding. Has like padding on their fists.
Oh.
They wear gloves, like boxing gloves. You know, they wear boxing gloves. They're not punching each other barefisted.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Because in the show, they also have girls.
Yeah.
So it's under 18 tournament.
Yeah, it's an under 18 tournament. Yeah.
And then they decide to have different gender sections.
Yeah, in season 4. In the first season, they're just like, oh, this is everyone in the same bracket.
Yeah, but like I don't think any girls participated in it.
Yeah.
But this time,
there are more girls.
the Russo's daughter was there, and then there's another.
There are a couple girls in Cobra Kai. They introduced a new character who joined the Eagle Fang, you know.
Oh, yeah. There's so many different, like, dojos that open up.
And also, apparently, filming for season 5's done. So they're actually working on, like, post-production, you know, like, post-production, like, editing and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
So we'll see it, like, maybe, like, end of the year, like, season 5, end of the year, or maybe early next year.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Also, this show actually originally appeared on YouTube Red.
I think, it was, you know, like, because you can find out what year it was filmed by, like, little calendars that pop up in the or, like, on the trophy, there's the year. And 2018 was on the thing. So, anyways.
Yeah, and, like, they, even for, like, side characters, they start, like, fleshing them out, like, Danny LaRusso's son actually is getting more like development when in like, you know, seasons 1 and 2 he's a little annoying kid in the background. He just has annoying comments. Yeah. But season 4 he's actually getting like character development. You know?
Yeah. He is a prick though.
He is a prick.
But like you still want him to like learn from it because
this whole show, like the core theme of the show, I feel is like redemption.
Okay.
You know, like redeeming yourself almost. I think
Even
that's like
Kreese.
even Kreese was starting to like you were starting to see the wheels of like Kreese kind of slowly redeem himself. He's still an asshole.
Yeah, yeah.
He's still like a jerk.
You find out though why he turned.
Yeah, why he's like
that.
so like
Yeah.
you find out like his foundation. Which
Yeah.
I really like. I really appreciate because like what kind of person has to be this crazy? Like who's this crazy? What did that guy go through to make him that crazy? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then like then they also like make fun of like the past parts. Like there's Terry Silver, who is a character in Cobra Kai, who's originally from Cobra Kai 3, has this line of like, yo, like back in the 80s, yo, I was high on so much cocaine that I like started to like bully this high school kid like mercilessly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that like completely like it's one line that completely justifies why he was so crazy in Karate Kid 3.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't watch the second or third one.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched the first one and the Jaden Smith one.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, when is the Jaden Smith one going to apply? And the answer is, we don't know. We don't know. Because that Karate Kid is technically supposed to be like a remake of the first Karate Kid.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like, it falls under the line of like remake and stuff like that, you know, rather than sequel.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then Cobra Kai is a sequel.
Cobra Kai is a sequel. It's part of like the timeline. It's part of like the timeline, right?
Yeah, yeah. Especially since it's the original.
Yeah. I mean, like the Karate Kid, like Jaden Smith version, could be part of the timeline because it was in China.
Oh, okay, because
like,
it could happen at the same time.
It could have happened. We don't know. We don't know. That's the thing.
It's like the Terran universe versus
yeah. It could be a different universe. It could be a different universe. It could be the same universe.
Yeah.
I do have some issue. Like the one thing that I think is really weird. I think this probably is because like I'm older. You know. Is that I'm always really weirded out by like the like sexualization of these like high school kids. You know.
Oh yeah.
Like I think the actors probably aren't underage like at this point, you know. Like a couple of years have gone by. They're not underage anymore. But like in the show, they're like, oh, look at her like low cut shirt and look at how sexy she is.
Oh yeah.
Or the guys are, you know. It's like aren't these kids all supposed to be underage?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like part of it's like teen, like you know, like teen, you know, it's.
They want to attract
It's like teen romance stories, you know. So like you know they end up being like more attractive or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just weird as an adult to see, you know. It's just weird as like a grown adult being like, oh, that's weird, you know.
Yeah. It's Yeah, I think it's just Hollywood.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But like also this show was originally produced by YouTube Red. When YouTube's like, we're not gonna make YouTube Red shows anymore. It was picked up by Netflix.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, okay. Netflix was like, yeah, we're gonna like pay money.
Oh,
and
nice.
Netflix was like, yeah, we'll pay a lot of money too.
Oh, nice.
This is like one of the Netflix shows that gets a lot of money. You can tell sometimes when like a Netflix show doesn't get money, you know?
How so?
Like we get shows like The Wu Assassins. Remember when we saw that episode?
That was a major film.
That was terrible.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, super cheesy.
It's like that's an example of a Netflix show that didn't get money, you know?
Yeah.
And they spent it all on one actor.
It's kind of a shame because like you want the Asian actors to you know like but there was a good amount of Asian actors in Cobra Kai. Yeah. And you did appreciate how one of them was a bully.
Yeah, there's like Kyler who I mean Kyler's not supposed to be a good guy or anything like that. He's he's just like he's like a bully character. He's like unrepentant at this point, you know?
Yeah.
He has had no
he's
like
just a jerk.
He's the character that you want to hate, you know? And I appreciate he was Asian, you know? Appreciate he was Asian.
Yeah.
Like we're always like depicted as like the nerds and in most of the series. So like, yeah, might as well do have like him be the bully.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you, who's your favorite character?
I think Johnny.
Johnny.
Because he's like, quiet. And
like
hilarious.
there's like a thing with Karate Kid with making like really good one-liners, like, you know, that like stay in like the collective society.
Oh, okay.
Like wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
different things like that. And like now it's like quiet has become one of them, you know, like
when the kids are like complaining or like going off about nothing, he's like, quiet.
Yep. And you know, it's like it actually is like something you see in like, you know, martial arts dojos where like, you know, like it's because it's discipline, you know, like it's discipline. Right?
Oh, okay.
There's also some part of it that like, you know, they like making fun of like woke culture in the show, you know, because it's woke culture is the antithesis to Johnny Lawrence's character.
Yeah. You know? He doesn't know how to use the internet.
He's like pretty kind of misogynistic, but like he's kind of trying to.
Yeah,
you know?
He's like, a man has to do this or be like this.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you don't want to be like a girl, do you?
Don't show weakness.
And then like the girls are just like, we're right here.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I'm talking. Yeah, but it's cool how like, you know, it is like you're not just having like guy characters, you have girl characters too, who like are shown to be like even more capable than some of the guy characters. You know?
Yeah. And they have their own fight scenes, which is pretty cool too.
I actually ended up really liking Hawk. The kid.
Oh yeah.
Mohawk kid. Where like he does anything and then the stock hawk like eagle cry sound effect plays.
Yeah.
It has a great amount of cheesiness. And his character went through quite the arc too, you know?
That's true.
And it was definitely like a slow burn because it was definitely like seasons 1 you're like, oh hey, we're rooting for you to gain more confidence, but he becomes like full on villain in like seasons 2 and 3, you know? But
that's
then like
true.
season 3 you see him kind of slowly start to like regret his actions, you know? You know, he's like slowly regretting to then in season 4 he kind of does like, you know, more of like a good guy turn, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like definitely like a lot of like growth for his character, you know?
Yeah, and in his character you get to see how you don't get your confidence and your identity through like physical stuff like hair or like tattoos, but like you have to develop it.
Yeah.
You know? Like the martial art way is not like, oh yeah, let me just grow my hair and color it.
But it's like inner strength as well. Well, but a lot of it too is like it starts out with like outward, and then it can like build up inward as well. You know, because like him growing the mohawk, getting a tattoo was something so he could change on the inside as well. Because he wouldn't have normally never have done that stuff.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
The act of like changing his outward appearance has made him more like has changed him inside as well. Right?
Yeah.
Like just trying to be like courageous because like originally Johnny was gonna kick him out. Right? And he had to prove that like he wasn't going to like quit.
Yeah.
Right? There's also like and like he definitely had like a character arc change, and then like, you know, he gets really mad when he's confronted with his like weaker past in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah, he's always triggered by that.
Yeah,
and it's his weakness. Yeah, everyone has a weakness.
Everyone has a weakness, you know.
Yeah.
And then like having all these characters from the original show just come up, it shows so much love.
Yeah.
That's it's people say that this is what they wished the new Star Wars movies were like.
Oh, I thought they were dead, the actors.
Not all the actors.
Oh, okay.
Just only one.
Only the woman?
Only the woman, yeah.
Okay.
But like everyone else is alive, but like they weren't really treated with respect. Like they got killed off, or like they were like didn't really have like an arc. Well, actually, yeah, they were all killed off actually in the movies too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's why they didn't want to come back.
Yeah, like that's why they felt like weird about it, because they're like, yeah, it just kind of like, and didn't really show like really that much respect to like the older characters too much either, you know. So it's just kind of like, oh, but in Karate Kid, it's like, oh, like the older characters kind of get all this like stuff without needing to overshadow like the new cast too, because the new kids like have their own arcs which are like good, just as good as what the adults are going through. You know, a lot of respect is kind of put between like all of them. Right?
Yeah. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed that you enjoyed it too.
Who's your least favorite character?
Silver.
Terry Silver.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I call everyone by their last name.
name.
Anyways, but yeah, Silver is like just pure evil, I feel.
Yeah. Okay. I have a hard time deciding who I like the least because like sometimes it like changes. You know? There's parts where, because like it depends on the season for me, you know? Because I think like maybe around like season 3 I really didn't like Sam because she kept on doing things behind like behind like everyone's back. And being like, why am I the villain, you know? Come on. Are you this not you're not very self-aware.
She grew up in a rich family, so she didn't actually have to think about the consequences of things.
And and then I mean now I think she's a bit better, like she's kind of growing up to be like a bit better too, you know. I kind of want her to see Sam become like go full villain or something like that, you know, like be like a full on villain of a season. So I think that would be entertaining.
Interesting. Versus like
Because Tori's a villain, but they've been kind of building up like Tori comes from a hard family. There's things. There's the part where she's like she doesn't want to play dirty in the tournament. She wants to beat Sam fair.
And then the last episode.
And then there's even like there's like you know like build up to like Tori's like appreciative of Sam's mom. And being able to like, oh hey, like thanks for helping me out, you know, like thanks for helping me out in my like personal life situation.
Because the mom doesn't call the cops. Well, plus if she calls the cops, her daughter will also get in trouble.
So it's like all right, and you know, like at this point she's like, and I did appreciate the mom's things like, why don't we just call the cops? You know, she's like very like she doesn't get it. And like rightfully so, because like all like the things that like Daniel was doing was like he was looking like a crazy person. You know? And like he started a dealership which is pretty popular. But then he kind of neglected it. That plus he neglected his family as well because he wanted to pay more attention to Robbie.
The Miyagi-Do.
And Robbie at the time too in season 1. You know, like, you know, almost surrogate son sort of thing, you know.
Both of them have their own surrogate sons.
And then like that causes issues with each other. It's like, oh man.
Oh my god.
It's so much drama, but it's not tiring. It's not like a K-drama, you know, because you know in K-dramas, it would only be that. It would only be like the really intense drama scenes that are like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. Please just give these characters a chance to lighten up. Which happens a lot in Karate Kid. There's so much like it's a balance because when we need the high points of these characters to be like, oh yeah, this character's doing good. Oh hey, the character made me laugh, right? And then we have them drop down to like their lowest points. You're like, oh no, you know, like it's the difference because if it's all low points and all like crazy drama, you're just like. You're just fed up with it. You're like, oh, like this. I expected something happen because it always happens like this. You know? But in Karate Kid, when something bad happens, we're really actually just like hit with it. You know?
Especially with, I mean, spoilers have been all throughout this episode, but Miguel like gets into a coma and I'm like, oh my gosh,
shit, you know,
is he gonna die?
Because like we've spent the first 2 seasons seeing Miguel like, you know, like we've seen Miguel like go through like building himself up from like this like nerd to like kind of like the most adept fighters in like the show, you know.
Yeah. He wins
like,
the tournament.
He wins the tournaments. He's like the most experienced. He's one of the more experienced fighters compared to like everyone else.
Yeah.
He wins the tournament. He like goes and like but then like he gets in an accident and is like sent in a coma. Like, oh no! And then like he has to build up again because he has to go through like rehab.
Yeah.
Though they like like I was like, man, rehab does not go that quick.
Yeah.
You know, for an injury
he is
like
young,
that,
though.
he is young. He is young. That is true. He is young.
And he is like his body is like well trained. So
yeah. That's true. It is very hard though, you know. Yeah. But yeah, like, it's everything about Karate Kids is like pretty much very fun. So far from what I've seen about the fans, which is only looking on the subreddits, fans are crazy. Fans are crazy, but you know that's indicative of like, you know, how well the show is. If it causes so much discourse, right? People are like so passionate about the show. But
who do they like, Sam or Tori?
Tori.
Oh, okay.
Everyone hates Sam. Like it's like actually like it's really kind of awkward of how much people dislike Sam.
Oh wow. Yeah. It's good I'm not reading it then, because
it's good you're not reading it.
It's good to approach a show just like from your own unadulterated perspective.
There's like people are like a little bit off on Miguel because Miguel's like not really liking Johnny as much, and you know.
So they've like, chosen Johnny.
Johnny is
and
like
everyone who's against him is like
it's all about Johnny.
Oh, okay.
Like Johnny is everyone's like no, Johnny cannot do anything wrong even when he does. You know, like if like they're like it's almost like you have like Johnny apologists who are like, no, Johnny can't do anything wrong. You know, he's trying. You know.
Yeah, he's doing his best.
He's doing his best. You know, like it's like no, like here's the thing. Yeah, Johnny is doing his best, but there are just times where he just straight up like fail. Like it's a big thing because like you know he did something good about teaching these kids karate, but he definitely 100% taught them karate like wrong in like a really toxic manner, right?
Yeah.
Like he taught them like, and then Johnny himself saw that he taught them wrong.
Yeah, because his dojo was taken over by Kreese, and then he reads the No Mercy. Yeah. Or what is it? Something.
Like
No Mercy.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Yeah, and he's like, oh my gosh.
He's like, and he sees like his like students like do like dirty tricks in the first tournament, and he's like, oh, I think I went too far.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, oh shit. He's like, damn, these kids are gonna go nuts in the real, because that's what happened to him, right?
Yeah.
He's like he kind of got raised on that, but then it didn't help him. It didn't help him in his adult life.
Yeah.
It probably made him like very toxic. Growing up, you know.
Yeah.
So
he does have really extreme training methods, though.
Yeah, that's true. You know?
Like, what do the Redditors say about like the cement?
Oh, no, he didn't do anything wrong.
Or like having kids
made the kids tougher.
Jump like the buildings.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Oh my gosh. Like, things could go horribly wrong.
Yeah, they can go horribly wrong.
But he's like, yeah, this is how you can be strong and...
Yeah. I will say that, like, you know, there are good lessons to be taught from Johnny. He does teach confidence, you know, like these kids, like, especially, like, these, like, weaker kids, and they end up going to him, they're learning how to be more confident, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you have to like go extreme in order to get people who are depressed to be.
Yeah. And like, you know, I think discipline helps a lot of people out, in my opinion, you know? Like, there's a lot in life you can learn from being just a bit more disciplined.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Now, you don't have to be like super crazy, but like, you know, like learning how to just go at it, even though like it's hard and you just keep going is like is a skill to have, right?
Yeah. Like, LaRusso is more about balance.
Yeah.
And being, like he's more defense.
He's more defensive. But I think that also leads to, like, other things to happen, right? He doesn't it like, for example, LaRusso kind of like walks around his problems. You know, like it's kind of like what leads him to do things like go to the landowner of Cobra Kai and getting him to raise the rent, instead of just like going to Johnny directly and just talking.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or like he would go to Johnny's dojo and be like, "What are you doing? I know you're trying to like mess with me."
Yeah, like he kind of like and he's very much like a like he's more passive in that respect.
Yeah,
when there are some problems that really come from need like more direct solution, you know. But the same thing too, like some direct you can't just be direct with everything. You need a combination of both is actually better. Yeah. Like we've seen that in like the ending of season 4, where like some of the kids are starting to combine their techniques, right? They're combining they're combining like you know, like Johnny's style and Daniel's style to be into kind of like fit their own style, right? Which is like, you know, it's shown to be like, oh, that's actually more balanced.
Yeah, yeah. You can combine different techniques, like so. What's Johnny's kid's name?
Robbie.
Robbie combines Miyagi-Do with Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And he's really good at it because he combines those two.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, Robbie's kind of like, I think one of like the better fighter, definitely like one of the best fighters in like the show, if we're thinking about it in that level.
That's true.
Yeah. And then Robbie even like starts to think like, oh, I didn't do this good. Like Robbie has a moment where he's kind of mentoring like a younger kid.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the younger kid goes super crazy psycho, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And like Robbie's like, oh, I've turned into my dad. Oh no.
Yeah, and it helps him understand his dad.
Yeah, it helps him understand his dad. He's like, like in his mind, he's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, what have I done?
Yeah, so like right now there's 4 generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's the Kreese generation.
Yeah.
And then Johnny's.
Yeah.
And then
Kreese
Miguel.
Again.
And then
and then now Terry. There's Terry.
The kid.
Black kid. Terry.
Oh, that's his name?
That's
Terry
his name.
And LaRusso's son.
Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh man. Oh no, his name's Kenny. Kenny. Black kid's name is Kenny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and like he starts this show getting bullied, and then at the end of the season, he's 100% the bully now.
Yeah, like you can see the mental like switch, like, really? Like he becomes really, so he was really tormented.
Yeah, he was really tormented, and then like turns
into the villain.
He's like 100% now, like he is now the bully.
Yeah.
He is now going to bully the other kids now.
Yeah.
And that's like the thing that happens in the show. You see like a lot of these bully, like, and this is something that's indicative to life too, real life too. Normally, the people who are the worst bullies have been bullied.
Either like, they have like a family issue.
Yeah, family issues, or they're being bullied by someone bigger, so they took it on someone smaller. Yeah. You know? That's definitely a thing that happens, you know? Like, with like kids, like usually like it's indicative.
It's hard to find the balance between being the victim and being the bully.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Because like there's other dynamics around you, other kids.
Because like there's also like the case of like, hey, maybe you did like grow stronger and stuff like that, and you see other kids who are getting bullied, and you're just like, they should get stronger too, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause I got stronger. They can do it too, you know? Yeah. That sort of thing. And you kind of like want to, and you also kind of like want to forget that you were at one point weak, you know, or one point bullied. Because they leave. There's the saying, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words have lasting effect that scar you permanently.
Yeah, there's a lot of projection. Because when I learned about it when I was in FEMA, there was a girl, she was like, we were adults at that point, but she was like, you know, the reason why you don't like your roommate is because you see yourself in her. And that is very true. I was like mind blown when she said that. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. What's
this room? Was this the story of the roommate who like didn't do her hair or anything like that?
She never showered. because she didn't want her hair to get curly.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I didn't do that.
Yeah, but you understood the feeling of like your hair getting too curly and stuff.
I mean, other aspects of it, like being very stubborn in my old beliefs.
Yeah.
That's what I saw in her. Mm-hmm. Like, because I used to be super religious.
Yeah.
And I used to be a snitch.
Yeah.
You know, like glimpses of being like that.
Snitch,
yeah. And I was like, I got really like angry with her, and I resented her because I think I saw that parts of me beside her that I didn't really like realize that I didn't. It was only because my brother like told me that I was a snitch, and like that made it hard for him to like exist basically. Yeah. Because
you can't trust. Yeah, it's hard to like trust someone who just like tells.
I mean, everyone. Like the grown-ups around me knew who to turn to find out exactly what happened. Yeah. I would like record everything. Oh, this happened, then this happened, then this kid joined with the plot, and we did this, blah blah. Because like I wanted to get punished less. Yeah. And that meant that my brother
got punished
ended
more.
up all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's very that it's sort really of thing painful. Really does like you made like kind of like it lasts a long time. It lasts a long time too, right?
Yeah, because it's like it also translates to like your adult life, because even to this day, like my brother doesn't trust me. Yeah. Like he never tells me anything that's going on in his life. Yeah. Like you know, like when he goes to Mexico, he doesn't tell me.
And it's not like you're gonna like who are you gonna actually tell, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's like he's just used to it at this point.
Yeah, so it's like the norm. It was a hard lesson for him. So it's
the human body, like humans don't want like they learn a lot from their misfortunes. Yeah. You know, so like his body like. He probably like for him it's just like big psychological lock because he's like you know like telling Samri things involved and usually resulted in bigger harder punishments. Harder punishments or something like that. You know? Which means that it's like you know it's like almost baked into him psychologically at this point.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like as a kid, you know, in the formative years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's why psychologists or therapists always ask you about your childhood. Yeah. Because that's
where because behavior is nurtured, not it is nurtured and learned, not born. You're not just born evil. Yeah. You're not just born like a crazy. You know, it's like environment.
Yeah. I mean, there's psychopaths.
Yeah, there's psychopaths.
Who are born.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of it is like nurture and your environment and things that drive you to crime or whatever kind of behavior. Maladaptive. Yep. But
there's like you know like thinking of like the best thing you can do for a kid is just give them an environment where they can just be a kid. You know. Like you have like the kids who are like super mature for their age, you know, and we tend to be like, oh yeah, that kid's like really good, you know, really good. But that means that kid like hasn't had the chance to be a kid, you know, like hasn't had the years to like enjoy being a kid because we only be kids once. Yeah. You know, and it's just it's such a short time in our lives, right? Like all things considering, like we're only kids for like a very short portion of our lives. Yeah. Why make it shorter?
True. It's just, you know, at least I would say for the Black community. Yeah. If a kid behaves in like childish manner, the adults around that kid.
Yeah, they don't let them.
Yeah, it's called adultification. Yeah. Where Black girls are, you know, like whatever they do is considered like malicious. Like that people would assume that, oh, she thought of, you know, like all these bad, evil things ahead of time. They also tend to sexualize Black girls and Black boys too. And like they Black boys and Black girls also tend to be suspended more often and face more harsher punishments. Yeah. And I saw that with my brother as well. at the schools, like they were always like, yeah, expelling and suspending him. I mean, right now he's doing very well for himself.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of my aunt. She was very like...
That was like, because like when you tell me that story, I think it's just because like your brother didn't have like, that was like the discipline he needed. Because he pretty much like, I think, because your mom doesn't really discipline.
No,
she's not very. She does. I don't see her as like a very disciplinary like person. So like your brother is essentially like in an environment where he has like zero discipline. Living with your mom. Yeah. Especially compared to like like back home where he got beat all the time. He's like, oh man, it's like the college. It's like going from like helicopter parent to like college where you're just free. Yeah. And you just kind of go nuts, right?
Yeah. A lot of the kids who grow up in really strict environments, when they go to college, they
go nuts.
Yeah, they go less like even more nuts than like kids who grew up in bad environments.
Yeah. Like at least because like if a kid who grew up in bad environment gets to college, they actually tend to do better because they're like, oh, like they know what they have to do. Like they've gotten to this point, right? They know what to do. They're not doing. And it's kind of the same thing you see from like like you hear this a lot from like kids who grew up being like called gifted kids. Where they didn't have to really work hard to like get good grades. Yeah. And then they get put into situations where they do need to work hard, but they have none of the studying skills that that like average kids have, because like average kids would have needed to like study really hard to get to the point to do like well in college, and then they train their studying skills. Yeah. And these gifted kids don't have that. Yeah. Because they like didn't need to try.
Yeah, they were in a small pond. They were a big fish.
And then the expectations on them are also very high, right? Like they're expected to like even do like never fail, and then that causes issue. That causes a lot of like mental issues too, Yeah. And then they just like burn out. They burn out. Like they like. I think the thing I've heard was like it's like they're expected to like build a mansion while everyone else is just building like a shack. Oh. Okay. And then like they are building a mansion is a lot of work. So they're like putting in like the foundations for their mansions, and they're seeing everyone else with shacks. They're like, what the heck? Right? They feel like lesser compared to like their peers at that point, right? Yeah. But they're putting in more work because because it's definitely like you have to put in the work in sometimes,
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. That's a cool analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, just say be more balanced with your kids and with yourself.
We don't have kids, so we get to like point in the background and be like shoot our shots, and then people could be like, oh, when you have kids, you'll see how it is. You'll understand.
Yeah, I mean, we can still talk about our own childhoods and how we wish. There. Yeah.
I find myself being like, man, I think I'm more closer to my dad than I had intended to be. Oh. My dad was pretty hard. Like, I think my dad was pretty harsh on, well, not harsh on me, but like he expected a lot from me, right?
So then, how are you seeing yourself?
Let's see. I'm definitely hot-headed like he is. From like growing up, I just tend to control it a bit better. Yeah. I mean, that's why I took martial arts growing up, and I grew I had like a pretty disciplined upbringing, so I learned how to like keep anger in check pretty well. Yeah. I can express it in a healthier way than just breaking something. Yeah. But then I also think I kind of expect a lot of other people to like pick things up really.
Oh yeah, that's true. Really that's what happened when I was at coding bootcamp, because we were dating at that point.
Yeah, we're just dating, and for me, like I picked up coding pretty fast. Like I pick up coding things pretty fast.
Yeah, so like when I ask you questions, you're like,
oh, I was like, oh, you don't get it? Yeah,
this is so easy.
It's easy. Just Google it. Yeah. Google has all the answers.
Yeah, but I think you're also pretty chill with like Because, like, when I have questions about, like, oh, maybe I'm getting burnt out, you know, these days with work, and you're like, just take a break. Like, just, you know, like, go outside, touch grass.
Touch grass, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been really helpful.
Yeah, like, because I know what it's like to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Like, it's my number one fear, actually. And for me personally.
Oh, okay.
Like, personal, like, burnout, like, that's probably what's caused a lot of trauma in my childhood, was burning out really hard.
Yeah.
And, like, going to really dark places because of burnout, like, because of burnouts and stuff like that.
Because you put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Put a lot of pressure on myself. I worked hard, and then, like, finding out and, like, not achieving what I wanted to with that hard work, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, that caused me to, like, feel really bad about myself. With teenage hormones, going through depression. Like, it caused me to go through, like, depression, you know? There are times where, like, I felt like I wanted to kill myself, you know? Just because, like, it was just, like, a really bad thing. It's just like, just take a break.
Yeah.
Take a break. You don't
have like realistic expectations for yourself.
Yeah.
And actually, I was just telling you in the kitchen about how I was talking to my coworker, and he's like, you do this, and I was like, oh, would I deal with it through this, like, if then. If and, or, like, you know, like the sequel statements. And he's like, well, actually, I don't know much Java. And I'm like, what? I thought, like, every engineer in the team was like an expert in Java. And all the training I've been going through in, like, every sprint, every 2 weeks, I'm learning new technologies, and, like, I'm expected to expand my brain. Like, new neurons have to be created like every freaking second. And I have, like, so much expectations on myself. And I think it's also because whenever I talk to my brother, he's always like, oh, you should know this by now.
Your brother is also the same way, like, you know, like everything I mentioned about myself for the thing, your brother also, like, worked really hard on it, so he's kind of like, you should know, you know. Like,
and he's like, this is why I hate coding boot camps.
You know what a lot of it stuff is, because usually for me, when I see you do that, I'm more, like, sympathetic for you. I'm just like, man, like, coding boot camps are, like, rough, and they, like, I don't say it on anger. I'm more just, like, trying to be more sympathetic towards you. I don't think being angry at, like, the boot camp's gonna help anything. Right? You know, but your brother is pretty, like,
he's very passionate about coding. Definitely, because
he's I would say your brother's a very manly man, and he tries to be a manly man. You know,
you think
very much
his anger about
it's very
coding
much
boot camps is
very
manly?
much it's like a guy, definitely, like, a masculine way of reacting to, like, this situation, right? Versus, like, you know, it'd be like a feminine touch is more like, oh yeah, more supportive towards you, like saying, like, oh, it's fine, it's okay, you know. And he's, like, trying to find, like, someone to blame.
That's true.
He's trying to find he's trying to find an enemy to kill. Right?
That's true. Because, like, whenever I tell him, oh, okay, this is what my mentor told me, he's like, they're going about it, they're most R-word. Wait, he's an R-word. And I'm like, oh my
dude,
gosh.
like, that's not helping.
It's not helping at all, because, like, my mentor has his own separate job on top of mentoring me. I mean, like, everyone's, like, you know, my mentorship team is, like, helping me out because they want to get promoted, like, they want to be managers, blah blah. That's how you get to step you know, through the ladder. But like, at the same time, like, I don't know, like, it's not realistic to expect people who are not related to you, or like, who care about your personally care about you, to invest a lot of time and like explaining, like, okay, instead of, like, saying, okay, do PS that pipe E grep blah blah, like, Miki would go about like the longer way of like explaining the history of computer science and like why things get compiled versus
and like
interpreted.
Remember when I would teach you things, I would never actually like I would never actually tell you any answers.
Yeah, you're
I
like,
would be
just
I would
figure it out.
Well, yeah, I would give you like the steps to like figure things out too. Like, I'd be like, so if I give you this and this and this, what would you say about this? You know, and making you having to really think. Like my way of teaching is very much like a very slow and like long, patient way to do it. Like it teaches you like the building blocks, right?
That's true, but
the thing about me is that I'm also willing to let you fail. I'm also willing to like let you fail.
You're willing for me to like just like writhe in pain and misery.
I like it because your brother like there were points in your career where he did the work for you, right?
Yes.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you will get the like you know like if you get an F, you get an F. Like because I mean that's for me. I've learned from my own failures, right? And I think it's like if our kid, like for example, if we have kids, and I remember growing up, there's definitely the kids whose parents did their homework for them, right?
Yeah, because they wanted them to have the best. I feel like
a better grade, you know.
Yeah.
But that's not what's good for them. They learn the lesson that someone's going to fix their problems for them, right? So like for me, it's just like, oh yeah, like if you fail, like because I failed, I nearly dropped out of school, you know.
Yeah.
But I think actually almost dropping out of school like gave me like one of the biggest life lessons that like I've had, you know. Of like, oh, like I learned a lot. You learn a lot. You learn a lot from failing and then getting back up from getting back from it. I would help you afterwards. Be like, okay, like what did you learn? Like what did you learn from learn from this? Like I'm more helpful in like helping you heal from like a failure. You know.
Yeah. Instead of preventing the pain.
Instead of preventing the pain in the first place, I'm more or less along the lines of, all right, what lessons did you learn from this, right?
Yeah, because like when you're in a boot camp or like an accelerated apprenticeship like I am, it's so hard to like actually like take a breather.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, actually, how does this actually work? So like this past month and a half, I haven't been like relying on my brother.
Yeah, it's good.
As much.
I think that's really good. Like that's really good. And really impressive.
Because I had a meeting with a coworker who also went through a boot camp. Like we went through similar pathways.
Yeah.
She went to another program, but anyways, so she told me that she had like someone else from her same program who didn't get hired on as full time because she would always ask questions without actually doing the research.
Yeah, doing the research.
And the thing she said was like struggle first.
Yeah.
Like make sure that you actually like look at the documentation. And like test out different things before you go to your mentor or to a coworker to ask them questions.
Yeah.
Because if you just like ask questions, just like, oh, how does this work? Or like, where do I find this? Or like, like the questions have to be informed questions.
Yeah.
That showed that you actually put in the work.
You tried,
to like do the research, and that you actually like did try out some code and be like, okay, this is what happened when I tried this. This is the error that I got.
I remember like earlier on when we dated, like when you did like the one thing I remember you would say like in defense of like you like not being able to do something would be like, oh, I didn't know how to do that, or I didn't know, right? And you use that a lot. Yeah, or no one taught me. No one taught me this. Right. And it's kind of like, well, no one taught you, then there is the ability to just kind of like teach yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard. It is
hard to actually know where to look.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, too, like Google helps you out with that. You know.
That's true.
Now. Yeah. It's also kind of like it's for the older generation. It's hard because like they're used to like when they needed to learn something, they had to like do a lot of work to find that information, right?
Yeah.
Not used to having it just readily available.
That's true.
And like the younger generation now, like us, like we're used to being able to just like, oh, we just look this up really quick and find out about X thing, you know?
Yeah, the most obscure things.
Like the most obscure things, I can learn who the like 22nd president is of the United States and like really fast.
Yeah.
With one like just a couple seconds, right?
Yeah.
Before that would take like a bit of work.
You
have to find the book. You'd have to find a list of list of the presidents. Get that book, and then look it up.
Yeah, encyclopedias, dictionaries.
Yeah, so
libraries with librarians actually, you know.
Yeah, who are pretty much Google.
Yeah.
Librarians who are essentially
That's
Google,
true.
who were essentially Google at that point, you know.
Yeah. I am definitely learning about how to learn.
Yeah, it's a skill. It's a skill, you know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a skill.
It is. It's something that you don't get taught.
Yeah.
It's something you have to learn by yourself.
Yeah. Or no, because I taught you my study tricks.
Yeah. But you have to find out your own study tricks.
Yeah, you have to find the stuff that works for you too.
Yeah.
You too specifically. Because my study tricks, some of them are different from your study tricks.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm more of a visual learner.
Yeah.
So I need to actually visualize how data flows.
Yeah, for me, I'm a terrible auditory learner. I cannot process things when you just say them to me. I have to actually do something, you know?
Oh, okay.
I can't college lectures and school. That's what school is so hard for me. I have such a hard time with school because a lecture is just gonna put me to sleep.
Yeah, lectures are sermons.
Yeah, they're like church sermons.
Yeah.
And then it just causes me to fall asleep, and then
it gets triggered in you oh, okay. Sleep.
Yeah, it's like a college lecture is like ASMR to me.
Yeah.
I will lull myself to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, that was a little divergent talk, but yeah, that's the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Please share, subscribe.
And hit that bell notification.
Yeah.
I know you probably hear it after every single YouTube video that you watch, but please do it.
Yeah. And for those of you listening on Anchor or Spotify or Google Podcasts or any other audio podcasts, thank you very much.
Okay, now we eat. I'm hungry.
Oh yeah.
See ya.
Bye.